Open your phone or your browser history, and you'll likely see a digital graveyard. Half-finished fitness apps, online courses with one lesson completed, and business plans that haven't been touched since the day you bought the domain name. This is shiny object syndrome. It is a biological glitch occurring in your reward system. As this diagram shows, encountering a new stimulus triggers a massive spike of dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation and craving. Evolutionarily, this response was an advantage. It forced our ancestors to pay attention to potential food sources or threats. But in an era of infinite digital novelty, this same circuitry hijacks our ability to stay with a single task for more than a few minutes. To stop cycling through day ones and actually reach a finish line, you have to learn how to override this biological default. Identifying this neurological hijack is the first step toward reclaiming your focus. To move past the trap of perpetual distraction, we have to look at the exact timeline of how a project actually fails. Psychologists Don Kelly and Daryl Connor developed the emotional cycle of change to predict exactly when and why we abandon our goals. It maps the relationship between your emotional state and the time you spend on execution. On day one, the line hits this peak: uninformed optimism. Just the act of planning a new project delivers a massive, unearned dopamine spike. You feel certain of success because you haven't encountered any real resistance yet. As the actual grind begins, friction rises and that initial excitement dies. The dopamine system stops rewarding you for the idea, and the line drops into informed pessimism. This leads to the lowest point on the graph, the valley of despair. At this stage, the project is no longer new, the work is tedious, and 90% of people decide to quit. Inside this valley, your dopamine-starved brain searches for a biological escape hatch. It dangles a new shiny object in front of you, a new project or a different tool, to avoid the discomfort of the current grind. If you can anticipate the valley of despair, you can stop interpreting chemical boredom as a sign that you chose the wrong project. Quitting a project isn't just a pause, it is a repetitive behavior that trains your brain to find the nearest exit whenever work gets difficult. Cricket legend Sachin Tendulkar maintained focus through decades of international pressure. He pushed through bad form and friction by anchoring himself to his mechanics. His childhood teammate, Vinod Kambli, had comparable natural talent. However, Kambli's career followed a different trajectory as he repeatedly fell into distraction loops. Their divergent paths illustrate the neuroscience of the quitting muscle. When you choose to exit, your brain learns to automatically prioritize novelty over difficult work. We often mistake motion for momentum. Researching new tools or chasing new ideas feels productive, but it is the equivalent of a rocking chair. You're moving, but you aren't gaining ground. Every time you choose fake motion over real momentum, you reinforce the neural pathway for quitting. You remain a permanent beginner. To protect your momentum, you need specific protocols designed to override your brain's novelty bias. The first protocol is the idea dock. When a new idea arrives, place it in a mandatory 72-hour quarantine. As this graph shows, the initial dopamine rush flattens quickly. If it still seems valuable 3 days later, only then act on it. Second, burn the ships. You can weaponize loss aversion by handing a friend a significant sum of money. If you miss your deadline, they keep the cash. The pain of financial loss creates a biological incentive to finish. Third, mental time travel. Anchor a specific music playlist to your day one excitement. Deploy that playlist exclusively when you hit the valley of despair to remind your brain of why you valued the goal in the first place. Fourth, the boredom reset. Spend 1 day a week disconnected from algorithmic novelty. This starves the brain of cheap algorithmic stimulation, allowing your focus to return to a steady rhythmic pulse. Fifth, the finisher muscle. Shrink your barrier to entry until it is impossible to fail. Committing to just 5 minutes of work proves to your brain that you are capable of closing a loop. History is written by finishers. Draw a line in the sand today by making a public contract in the comments. State one specific unfinished goal and a hard deadline for when you will close the loop.